Let me be honest, right? So my transition to leadership actually happened quite organically over time, right? So as I said, I began as an engineer, as a networks engineer, focused mostly on the technical side of things. But
Hmm.
as I said, curiosity is something which what is already ingrained in me, right? So I was always curious about the bigger picture. So how technology decisions are connected to the business outcomes, and how the teams collaborate to make that happen, right? It's just not about as an individual as a network engineer because it's the objective how it impacts the end customer, which is your
Hmm.
subscriber, right? So that curiosity kind of led me to more responsibility and to try to mentoring others and eventually lead teams and of course initiate take the initiatives as well. Along the way I realized that leadership is not about titles,
Hmm.
right? It's about how you can influence the, teams, how you can influence people, how you can influence the outcome.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Value Seller Talks, where we bring inspiring conversation with industry leaders who are driving innovation and creating impact. I'm your host Deepak Bajaj, and today we have a very special guest, Mahesh Pai. Mahesh is a seasoned technology SME leader with close to 3 decades of experience in network planning, optimization, analytics, strategy building, product management, techno commercial, sales, mentoring, and sales management activities. Believe me, it's a lot. Having served at leadership role within global telecom OEM, he has been instrumental in launching various networks, enabling to pursue new sales and opening new markets globally, along with the product development processes, driving innovation and enabling exponential growth. His expertise spans mobile network, next generation connectivity solution, and business transformation strategies. Mahesh is also an active voice in the industry and a mentor who is passionate about giving back and inspiring the next generations of professionals. In today's episode, we will explore how innovation in technology fuels business and national growth, the evolution of connectivity solutions, and the strategies that drive sustainable success in the connected world. Mahesh Pai, welcome to the Value Seller Talks.
Thank you so much, Deepak. First and foremost, I thank you for having me on the show, and it's great to be here. So just to give a bit of a brief, I think you already explained a lot in terms of the intro, so thank you for that. Um, so I actually started the career in this industry right after completing my bachelor's of engineering in electronics and communication. So this was just about the time when mobile phones were just beginning to catch on in India. It was just fledgling, right?
Yeah.
So I started my career in as a network engineer in the one of the major operators in Delhi at that point in time. So this is about 3 decades ago, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So the industry looked quite different, and fast forwarding to today, the journey has taken me from everything that was in hands-on technical roles, as just mentioned, and leading teams, and of course shaping strategy, then also doing big transformation programs and of course, these stints in pre-sales, sales, and plenty of collaborative adventures along the way. So, what kept me motivated for all this is basically the constant reinvention, as I mentioned, for the roles which I have done across multiple companies and countries I have visited. So, what I've seen is the technology leap forward, watching how we as people and
Mm.
teams adapt to it. Leadership in technology is always being blending innovation with impact, right, at the end of the day, and helping folks grow to solve complex problems and together. Now, we have seen the initial steps of AI and automation, right? So,
Yeah.
of course, that is growing as we speak. Now, it actually opens a new set of possibilities. So, and that's a real exciting area where we would like to go.
Mm.
So, this makes connectivity smarter, more human centric. And I believe that we are entering a phase where technology can be for the greater of the good, right?
Mm.
So looking forward, I would like to continue to be a part of this ongoing story.
Interesting, interesting. But Mahesh, if I want to take a step back, right?
Mhm.
Not forward, back.
Okay.
With your so much achievement, so much inspiration, and the development which you did in the professional world, right? In the terms of the technology, in the terms of the network. But who is Mahesh Pai as a person? How you define
All
Mahesh
right.
Pai?
Okay. So basically, I'm an enthusiast.
Mm,
I'm quite curious about things, so I like to learn a lot of things, right? So be it on the technology front, be it on the business fronts, and that's my personal, aspirations to learn a lot of things because that's what life gives you. Uh, as I started I actually started my education life in Goa. That's where I was brought up.
mm,
And as I said, post engineering, actually, I got into an area because, when we start in India at that point in time, 30 years ago, there was no mobile networks per se. So
okay.
the thought came across like, um, what do I do after engineering, right? Basically, you're an electronics guy, you're in communications. So India did not have those kind of opportunities to go on a larger scale. So incidentally, what I got as my career was very close to my heart because that's where I wanted to get into learning
Mm,
about communication, learning about how to connect people, and that aspiration, fortunately for me, was met. So yeah, this is the kind of a very short story from my side, and I like to dabble in certain things in about from as I said, I'm very enthusiastic about knowledge. And AI, machine learning is something new which I'm nowadays trying to do a lot of knowledge gathering, if you will, and let's see how it pans out over a period of
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, we all are excited about this new wave of innovation. But how you get a break into the telecommunication, right? Electronics and communication, and you rightly mentioned the question, right? What to do after the B Tech or BE. So how you get a break?
That is fun. Basically, when after just right after my engineering, I kind of shifted to Delhi.
Hmm.
And that point in time, obviously, that was just I think there were only two operators, right?
Yeah.
And and mobile was a new area altogether because we used to struggle a lot getting even a landline connection at home in that point in time. And here is a technology that is basically transforming the way people were actually connected together. And that was an opening that point in time for an engineer network at one of the major operators in Delhi. So I applied for it, got through the interview, and kind of continued, for the first 3 years, in that role, and actually helped me a lot to assimilate a lot of knowledge because you, as a network engineer, you start from the very beginning of how the network works, right? You actually get a feel of how, when you do a planning, when you actually see the equipment in front of you, how the end-to-end connectivity is happening, how the call flow is happening, that
Hmm.
actually gets you into a lot of information, you know. So the end-to-end domain knowledge actually helps you when you're a network engineer because it's just not about an information that you just do a planning domain activity or a operations domain activity. You actually see a complete life cycle, how the system is rolled out, how the optimization in the operations phase is done. So this is how my career began, correct? So, and it was a very small team at that point in time. I mean, in the size of Delhi, we had about 120, sites, and
Hmm.
I have actually traveled length and breadth of Delhi at that point in time. And of course, the team was very small. So when you have a very small, tiny team, you
Hmm.
actually work across the domains. So you
All.
don't really, except for perhaps the core, but mostly, I mean, you can kind of tinker around a lot of things because you are the people who are supposed to drive, the availability of the network, operate the network, understand the KPIs, if you will. That's how we started. I mean, of course, then progressively, of course, I changed my companies and a lot of more learning came in. I was deep dive involved in, I would say, networks which are point-to-point networks, uh, point to multi-point networks. Then
Hmm.
you talk about CDMA, GSM planning, and I've done a lot of rollouts, even the networks in for Sprint in US. Then we talk about the first rollout of GSM 1900 in Manhattan, New York, for example. So it gave a lot of perspective. It gave a lot of the on the ground feel, ear to the ground, if you will. So this is how actually kind of carried my career. As I said, I'm going to be obviously talking
Yeah.
in the next few minutes and how
Yeah.
this thing evolved. So it took me from a technology standpoint and evolved me into how, when you look at a bigger picture, correct? So how the business works and how it
Mhm.
impacts the end subscriber, correct? So it's just not about you doing a small job, but how your job impacts how the end subscriber communicates to his loved ones or for his business or whatever.
Perfectly mentioned. And I should also claim that you may be the few members who made the first call in India, the first mobile
No,
phone,
no,
something like
no,
this.
no,
No,
no.
not
I
at
am
all.
not that one of those fortunate ones, unfortunately. But then, yes, that was just after that particular period of time. I think, as I said, the networks were very small, right? I mean, but then the cost of making a call was somewhere around, or per minute was around 32 rupees per
But
minute,
yeah,
and incoming was about 16 rupees plus or minus.
yeah.
And of course, it give you a bit of a pride, right? I mean, majority of people used to have an aspiration to hold a mobile at that point in time,
Mm,
and you are one
mm,
of the fortunate ones.
right.
So that is something, kind of creates that, more inquisitiveness into the technology, and you're actually holding a mobile, and that actually gives a bit of a push, that actually you have something that is unique at that point in time. I think now it is ubiquitous. Everybody has something. It has evolved. I mean, from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, that's how we are.
Now, as you rightly mentioned, the team was very small, and you have to do, all the functions, and you have to contribute in all the function if you look from a call flow perspective. But your forte is NPO, network planning and optimization, analytics, and driving innovations. So tell us more about it.
Very nice question, Deepak. Thanks for that. So NPO is basically, we call it NPO for short, but network planning optimization is, I would say, the heart or the starting point for a journey for any telecom network, right? Because you need to start planning the site. That's where you actually start gathering the information, start planning the site, and then once the planning happens, once it is deployed, you do the acceptance and optimize the site in the operation phase. So as I said, planning is the heart of any telecom network at the beginning, and it's foundational, right? So, in simple terms, it's all about how you make the networks smarter
Mm,
and how you view the bang for the buck. And I say bang for the buck means the return on investment, so that you're ensuring the right and optimal balance between network capacity, the performance of the network, and of course the end user experience across the complete life cycle of the network, as I said earlier, from the deployment design in the deployment phase, optimization in the operations phase. So over the years, I have seen NPO evolve, from a purely engineering function, it's an engineering-driven function, to one which is deeply data and business-driven,
mm,
and also insight-led, right? So let me try to qualify with the couple of examples, what I mean by this. For instance, from a manual design process, if you remember the days of the year, maybe 15, 20 years back,
yeah.
you had a design tool, you used to put parameters, you used to come kind of a good design, and you used to create data fill manually, combining the parameters from the design and basically from the system, manually upload the configuration to your BSS, and you are actually having the site at a go, do the acceptance for the BTS, and of course the RF acceptance and the operations phase.
Mm,
Now, this is gone digital. Now, what I mean by that is that we are integrating AI-driven analytics. Like, for example, digital design, which is encompassing both the engineering and the business aspects. Now, what is the difference here? Earlier, we are just doing an engineering design because you require a specific coverage to be met, certain quality to be met.
mm, mm,
Here, we are talking about the multidimensional aspect, which is the requirement of the day, and your business aspects. Now, what operators think about is that if I put a site here today,
mm,
would it give me that necessary return on investment, despite all the investments that I'm making today for that particular site? That you can do even before invest in that site.
mm,
So this two aspects amalgamated together address the return on investment of the site for that operator, even before the site is put on air. And once it is accepted that okay, we can put the site, basically we what we do here is that we do a concept of digital twin. But it essentially means that you're replicating the real world into a virtual world.
Okay.
And all the while also ensuring that, when the site is put on air, it is also meeting the regulatory norms like EMF emissions, for example. EMF you might have heard
Yeah.
a lot of times. And this is all integrated into the network design process from an end-to-end perspective. And I said earlier, you had a manual way of combining information. Now that is also automated in terms of creating a data fill so that the XML can be automatically uploaded into the as configuration file for the site to be on air. And last comes the acceptance process from a complete deployment cycle. Now, this again has got digitalized. So essentially, the whole process from an end-to-end has got digitalized, right? From the point when you plant a site all the way to the acceptance process. Now, what has happened now? This has drastically reduced the turnaround time, also improved the faster time to market, and also at the same time improving efficiency. That means you're improving your productivity as well. So this is something which I had got a chance to over the number of years, in number of companies that I worked. Second aspect, if I basically look at it, is the optimization. Now, whenever you're in operate phase of a particular site, you have, whenever you want to troubleshoot or there's a challenge or there's a coverage issue, you used to send engineer to the site. They collect the information, and that information is pertaining to his experience. Like, for example, you do a drive test and use the engineering handset and you collect the information. Now, of course, you collect some of the information from the network, you have the KPIs, and then you used to do the parameter tuning manually, and you used to fix that problem. Now, today, that has gone one up. What I mean to say is, of course, you're still collecting information in terms of KPI, but you're doing a bit of a proactiveness. How you do that? You leverage the power of MDT features, or you do the crowdsourced data, and leveraging the advanced analytics and automation, we are able to kind of ingest this information that we are collecting from the network. That is basically your customer's experience, not the engineer's experience. And we can do modeling and predict the network behavior, proactively leveraging the power of AI and ML, and identify this issue and fix the issue even before they happen, right? So this is in the near time basis. So for me, if I look at it overall, so driving innovation in this space has always been about reimagining the value we deliver. It's just not about, as I said, improving the KPIs. Okay, it's just a KPI. It's also improving the customer experience, transforming how the operators make their decisions and also serve their customer experience or their customers, right? So what excites me more from this intersection is the intersection of data, intersection of technology, intersection of the human expertise the engineers have, right, in shaping the future and moving from an era where we are managing the network reactively and bringing in more proactiveness with better decisions and intelligent actions. So this is where I believe, basically, where the real innovation actually happens.
You have changed the game, right? Earlier, you were talking about the site has been deployed. Now it will automatically serve the customer. Now you have changed it that what the customer is experiencing, and then based on dimension the sites or
Correct.
optimize the site.
So it is a cyclical process. Right?
Yes.
See, ultimately, how do operators monetize is basically how their customers perceive the network. Network is a part of the complete overall customer experience, but I think network plays a major part of it. Right? So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
If the pipeline is having a superior quality, so you are allowing the customer to consume more data, or nowadays we don't talk about voice, but yes, the more data, and more data means more revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing all these points and connecting it so beautifully. So, and we started from your journey from 3 decades ago and versus now what is happening, totally reverse engineering. That make a lot of difference. And thanks for sharing your global experience as well.
Thank you.
Now from an engineering point to moving into a leader. Again, that's a question and a curiosity how this transition happened.
Okay. All right, let me be honest, right? So my transition to leadership actually happened quite organically over time, right? So as I said, I began as an engineer, as a networks engineer, focused mostly on the technical side of things. But as I said, curiosity is something what is already ingrained in me, right? So I was always curious about the bigger picture. So how technology decisions are connected to the business outcomes. and how the teams collaborate to make that happen, right? It's just not about as an individual as a network engineer, because it's the objective, how it impacts the end customer, which is your
Mm.
subscriber, right? So that curiosity kind of led me to more responsibility and to try to mentoring others and eventually lead teams, and of course initiate take the initiatives as well. Along the way, I realized that leadership is not about titles,
Mm.
right? It's about how you can influence the teams, how you can influence people, how you can influence the outcomes, uh, bring in empathy, and helping people grow to meet their own career objectives as well as their own personal aspirations.
Yeah,
I
important.
all see my intent has always been to lead with integrity and collaborate. No, and just create an environment, fostering an environment where people feel empowered to contribute and learn at the same time. So for me, leadership has been always a kind of a continuous journey, starting from solving complex technical challenges by myself, now enabling others to solve the challenge together. So that has been the kind of journey.
Yeah, I love the point, and it's a very important message for upcoming leaders also, that integrity and collaboration. It doesn't happen with the title. So rightly mentioned, and especially if you help others to grow, definitely your whole team, your whole unit, and your whole company will grow automatically.
No, absolutely, because see, while technology will always improve leaps and bounds, and that is happening at a rapid rate as we speak. What is also important is that there's a human face behind it,
Mm.
whether it's the engineer at the lowest strata who's just beginning his career. He also has his aspirations to become a leader. Essentially, looks towards his leadership, correct?
Yeah.
So if the leadership has integrity, it automatically ingrains as knowledge for the engineers on the ground, correct? So that's how they aspire. So it's about there's something like machine learning, right? When
Yeah.
if you give the right sort of data to the machine, it learns the right sort of things action as an outcome. If you give a bad data, that's how the outcome also comes out, right? That's how it works.
So
It's just an analogy.
which role is more challenging? Handling people or the handling machines?
I think machines would be, I'm not going to call it easier,
Mm.
but if the machines are still assuming the machines would be still under your control,
Mm.
you can still give more specific commands which the machine is expected to follow. So
Correct.
when it comes to people, it is a kind of a multitude of activities that it's about emotions, correct?
Mm.
It's about personal aspirations, and it's about how that person is on that particular day. Maybe had a fight at home. Yeah, or he had a very bad day, he or she for that matter. So it actually kind of amalgamates into a case by case situation for each individual. So
Mm.
machines is more like industrialized, right? You do this, you do this, you do this, and that kind of repeats over cyclically. So if you see just like the different fingers, as I say, different fingers of your hand. So each individual is different. Each has its own plus or minuses. So what is important is that the strengths are essentially going to be when you combine them, they become a fist, right?
Correct.
That is how essentially you have to lead a team.
Mm. So we call it, use all your intelligence, emotions, brain,
Yeah,
love, hate, whatever you want to bring, so that the thing should be easily absorbed and should be
absolutely,
implemented.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, especially from a business perspective, like as a business leader, your responsibility becomes more and more quantified as well, you know. Uh, so, what are the key factors you consider for any business to grow, especially in today's where everything is we are talking about automation and AI driven?
I think it's a bit of a dynamic world, and it's a great question. Thanks for asking that again. So for me, in growth in today's environment really comes from two or three things, right? So it is, I would say, top of mind, one would be the clarity.
Mm.
Second would be adaptability. And third, our favorite thing is people. So what I mean by clarity is that you need to have a sharp sense of purpose, knowing exactly what value you bring to your customer and staying true to it. That's where the integrity comes in. So when teams are clear about the why of the decision making, so the decision becomes faster and more aligned. Second is the adaptability. So when the market is, as I said earlier, market is always moving fast. The technology keeps on changing at a very rapid pace. The customer expectations accordingly keep on shifting. So what the business have to do is at a rapid pace, unlearn and relearn,
Mm,
and also move quickly so that they remain relevant.
mm,
So it's all about staying agile, letting go of legacy way of thinking. You have to adapt and be open to do things in a newer way.
mm,
So the third prong to this is basically the people. See, you can have the best of strategies, but it's the people who actually bring those strategies to life.
correct.
So what is becomes important is investing in talent, building a culture of collaboration, and giving them space to innovate, because this actually drives sustainable growth.
Mm,
So in the end, what it is all about is having a clear vision, a flexibility to evolve, and having the right people who can make it happen. So what turns as a good intent builds into a lasting business success.
mm, correct, correct. And vision is very important because vision is actually take you to the next few years, and definitely this vision gets aligned with the customer expectations, right?
Correct.
So this
So
vision,
that is where the alignment of customer expectation and your customer strategy, your own company strategy should align, right?
mm,
In terms of what is the vision that the customer has and your own vision. If they're aligned, that actually that complete thing explores into your business success.
mm. I'm getting a lot of questions sometimes from I call it a sales warrior or maybe a business leaders in their organizations. Uh, they always tell about it, and they want to do something, but it doesn't align with the company objectives, not objective, but the basically the way of the processes which company has made or ways
Hmm.
they want to do. So, any message you want to share for these people? How they should do a balancing, because companies is running their business from since ages, but now they are not able to adopt it properly.
No, is it in terms of, sorry, can you repeat the question? I mean, in terms of defining the product development, or in what's this?
Basically the customer expectation is getting changed every day, and the companies who are running with their own processes from last so many years, so there's a gap between
Hmm.
what the customer is asking for and and what is the process which they are which the companies has adopted since so far. Now the guys
Hmm.
who are actually customer facing, like key account manager, sales
Hmm.
warriors, right, business leaders, right, who are interacting with them, they become in a very difficult situation.
Hmm. See, so what, in my opinion, actually truly sets the uh, successful relationship between
Hmm.
your client and yourself, basically, is try to stay close to the customer and listening carefully to their changing needs. Okay. So if you ask me, so how would the company success and or market success, if you want to ask that way? So is when your client views you just not as a vendor, right? So, but as a trusted advisor. This only happens when you are uh, closely listening to the customer's changing needs, adapting your approach, okay, to the customer requirement without ever losing the ultimate business objectives or
Yeah.
not getting defocused. So when you do this, you not turn as a third party or a vendor anymore. You become the trusted advisor
Hmm.
and a partner, right? So essentially, somebody who can navigate shifting priorities, well, there and more reliability, because I know that I can trust you, right?
Hmm.
So
Correct.
this actually helps in delivering measurable business outcomes. and creates a bit of stickiness for your own success. That is my message towards the sales team.
No. It's a very important message. Don't defocus your business objective, but don't become pushy also. Be a trusted advisor because your
Yes,
knowledge will guide the customers and definitely stay close to them, as much
correct.
as possible.
See, I mean, just put yourself in the shoes of
Yes.
your customer, correct?
Mm,
And you
mm,
are the customer and somebody is coming towards you to
mm,
sell you something. So you do not want your pain to be taken not so seriously, or means it should be taken seriously, right?
mm,
So whenever a partner comes to you, listens to you carefully, and he addresses that pain,
mm.
I build that trust towards you. The next time
So,
I think, the first person I will think is about this particular person because he was that solve my pain, rather than
mm,
coming and doing a transactional activity just for getting his KRS.
mm.
It's very important to build that trust, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I totally align with you on that because you should move out from a transaction to an advisor, to a well.
Exactly. You should look at from a strategic perspective. You are not there just to make, I mean, you're not going to a shop, right, to sell
Mm,
something. When you're basically and from a B2B business, a shopkeeper, if you go, I mean, he also doing business, right? But he's just do as a transactional so that he has to sell a product and the customer goes away. Maybe he'll come back if he likes the product, but he'll not come back because this particular person I'm sold this. But
yes.
in a B2B business, it becomes much more important because B2B business works on trust.
Mm. Oh, got it. No, agree. And this is something which most of the youngsters are making a big mistake. Uh,
Correct.
they are maybe first of all they are youngsters with a lack of maturity, and the second very important part is that they are totally crushed with the pressure which they are getting from their management as well. So that so.
So don't go for short-term greed, just for
Mm,
getting a PO and just making your getting the money. So that is you need to look things at strategic level. Certain things, of course, you still need to do a tactical level, but when you build trust, it is on a strategic level.
yeah. Yes. And always dream for starting from something small. That
Exactly.
will de-risk your client as well as that give more and more opportunity to expand. We call it in our terms land and expand, right?
Correct.
Right. Thanks for bringing all these points. And I'm pretty much sure the people who are listening to us, they will definitely get this thing because when we go for a self-realization, we understand what we have done wrong or what are the areas of improvement. But if I'm not talking with you on terms of the future of connectivity solutions, this conversation will remain half-sided. So I want
Mhm.
to understand from your perspective, your opinion, what are the key trends which we are focusing, especially on the connecting of the global world.
Okay. All right. I'll actually we are actually entering an exciting phase of this journey. So where connectivity just goes beyond just talking about faster speeds because most of the time you talk about 2G, 3G, 4G. Every time you only hear about faster speeds, good network, and all that. So what is now going is that from just not about faster speeds, but truly intelligent network, which are reliable, which are having ubiquitous connectivity and adaptive networks to the end customer requirements. So looking ahead, if I want to talk about maybe top three items, there could be many, but I just which are most important as we speak, that is shaping the future. Number one, first and foremost, would be the push towards cloud native and defined network architecture. This will
Mm,
accelerate. So this shift not only will enable faster innovation cycles, but service rollouts will also require certain practical approaches, like, for example, security of the network, interoperability, operational maturity. Especially, this is when the networks are increasingly getting disaggregated.
mm,
The second aspect is basically on the AI and automation. You have a network already, but you need to have automation to manage the network. So AI and automation will actually continue to transform network management by making systems more predictive and self-operating.
mm,
Okay. So this is already happening. So if you remember the ages where we had 3G, 4G, we used to talk about self-organizing and optimizing network, which we used to call
on,
SON.
on.
And this is increasingly getting into a cognitive space. And in progressing, as you go from 5G advanced and maybe 6G, we'll be having the concept of RIC, correct?
Hmm.
So the challenge and opportunity lies in these capabilities reliably across diverse and complex networks, right? So basically, you have to scale this up now. It's just not about your network alone. It's just not about mobility network. It has to kind of go into your backhaul. It has to go into your core so that you have a complete homogeneous control in your hands. And also, they should also deliver consistent results and real world benefit, right? It's just not about putting a piece of software or a tool or an enabler, as people will call it. But what is important is that consistency has to be maintained. And at the same time, that is a tangible results people can see.
Hmm.
So third part I would call is, and this is a very favorite subject, any operator you might speak across the globe, is sustainability and energy efficiency,
Yeah.
right? This is a mantra now which will become non-negotiable in the design principles. I talked about the digitalization process earlier. So it's just not about building, powerful networks anymore. So it is also about building smarter networks that also minimize the environmental impact.
Hmm.
So it is crucial that a balance needs to be struck between the growing demands of a network, whether it is in speed, low latency, reliability, but also at the same time meeting your environmental obligations. So ultimately, if you see the future connectivity, right? So you'll have a landscape where not one there'll be a technology which continuously adapts to the human and business needs, but in a more, I would say, reliable and in a responsible way, which is also scalable, by the way.
Hmm.
So if you see, the possibilities are huge, the opportunities are huge, but that requires an approach, a cautious approach, if you will, to ensure that we have blending innovation, but at the same time, the execution is practical.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Hmm. That's the reason you mentioned about MDT, crowdsource, even
correct.
analytics. That's all part of your zero carbon emission and the.
Correct. So just to thanks, I think you brought it up very well. So when essentially you're talking about, typically, if you remember, you used to have the vehicles whenever the optimization of a network, you need to have multiple set of vehicles driving all the way across. So essentially adding to the carbon emissions,
Hmm.
that is number one. Second thing is that you are still actually taking the information of the drive test engineer on his handset rather than addressing the customer experience.
Yeah.
So with this set of new features like MDT, minimization of data is a feature where you're able to network actually accumulates information from the customer calls in terms of metadata, right? Essentially, I'm able to kind of collect information like what is the RX level, what is the RX quality of your particular subscriber, and this set of information. Of course, not personal information. It's just where I'm able to leverage this. I'm able to simulate this in terms of how is there a coverage hole in the area where the customer is staying, or is
Hmm.
there a qualitative issues? I'm able to proactively look it on kind of a GIS map
Hmm.
and able to kind of see what are the hotspots that I need to
Hmm.
build capacity in. So that, if you see my speeds are going down because there may be a lot of people using in the particular area, I'm able to kind of leverage this data to kind of do a hotspot analysis,
Yeah.
build capacity, build the backhaul capacity. So whatever commitment you are going to use your end customer, that are met in terms of the speed as well as the latency and other topics I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's just about not about innovation, which using all these methods, but in terms of practical execution also, because we also need to see how much budget the customer has at the end of the day to spend to build that, whether immediately or over a period of time. That is also possible, by the way. You are able to predict from a design principle when that capacity needs to be put across. And that is something I would say a game changer.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I will reiterate the same wordings that reshaping the experience. So earlier the network was built based on the theoretical assumptions, the prediction. Now because of the customer experience, quality of service, which you rightly mentioned. So these are the various stages. And I love that fact that we are moving from a carbon emission to a zero carbon emission domain, and where the energies are energy, environment, sustainability are playing a bigger role.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's not only drive test. Okay, there are various ways actually you can reduce the carbon emissions, right?
Mm.
Number one is looking at when there's less traffic on the site. correct?
Yeah.
Why do you need to kind of have that much power on the side? So you're essentially able to kind of purge down the amount of transmission power which you use to kind of radiate when the traffic is low. For instance, you can switch off certain time slots, or you can switch off a particular radio depending on the because there'll be you see a site today has multiple technology
Traffic there.
layers, right? Technology layers and different bands. So traffic is not uniform across, let's say, when it is a low traffic time. Of course, nowadays there's nothing as a low traffic time, but if you see like if it is not the busy hour, essentially that time you don't need to kind of transmit that much amount of power or all the
True.
band, all the layers, if you will. So that is something which the technology has come across for.
Mm.
And third area, essentially, also this kind of I was just talking about EMF. So essentially, that also gets mitigated, where essentially you are able to kind of transmit less power at a particular point in time. Or even with the digital design process, so you don't have to have boomer sites. Typically when you start a particular network, you basically put the coverage sites and basically start popping in the incremental capacity sites in between to fill up the capacity requirements. But most of the time, although the KPIs are green, but still you have a lot of information, or I would say a lot of transmit power being transmitted still at the same level. So this also can be reduced. Essentially, also means is that you're reducing the power means also it increases your carbon credits or their lesser carbon dioxide emissions.
There are n number of ways to do that. The only
Absolutely, these are the few things which I
yeah.
just came across when you kind of mentioned it. There are many more ways and techniques to do that. So yeah.
And at the end of the day, you need ROI and how you can remove or reduce the OPEX spend. The energy is one part of it.
Absolutely. See, I mean, whether it's the DG run at the site, for example, and talk about OpEx. So
Yes.
how do you reduce that? How do you ensure that the site essentially uses other means and measures, whether you talk about green energy, right?
Mm.
Whether it's to solar or whether it's to wind energy or using battery, in a charging cycle, essentially when the power rates in India, it's not the case in much, but you talk about using the battery at a particular point, charge the battery at a time, and there is essentially the grid has lower in the charge per kilowatt. That is one way of looking at it. Or you can reverse cycle that. So if you have battery capacity built at a site and all that energy is not utilized, you can send it back to the grid. So that
Mm.
is one of the way, these are ways, means and measures, to kind of reduce the consumption and improve on the environmental sustainability at a site.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I know this topic will itself take a,
Yeah, I think it's a big
discussion.
topic in itself, but yes, we can have a separate discussion on this.
Definitely, definitely. You give me another cause of, setting up a new podcast. But yes, I agree.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. So, one thing which is more dynamic, as you rightly mentioned, is the client expectation. So, how
Mhm.
you define that how a person can succeed or become successful with handling those clients whose expectations changing every time.
I think we touched upon this question and a very good question once again, right? Because see, in today's fast-paced environment, the client expectations evolve faster than the product cycles, right?
Mm.
So you have a catalog product, but then the expectation is that, okay, we want something else, right? So for me, so as I said earlier also, right? I mean, it's not about just closing a deal and, getting a PO, but it's also about, getting the client's input pre-hand so that, whenever we sell a product, so that particular thing can be, embedded, the requirements can be embedded or over a period of time, in terms of a roadmap. So as I said earlier also, right? So it is very important to building that trust. It's just not about saying that yes to everything. That is not also right, because there's sometimes it's just not one client you're serving. It has to be multiple set of clients. But depending on how much relationship you are leveraged with your clients, it's very important to about sustaining that trust
Mm.
and constantly deliver value over time. Correct. And then what actually helps in successful relationship truly apart is staying close to the customer, as I mentioned earlier, right? So hearing to their changing needs. And this is a dynamic environment, right? So there'll be constant change in their needs, and the technology has to keep pace. So
Mm.
adapting our approach, and as I said earlier, also not losing sight of your own business objectives. That's also important, right? So you should have that inherent strength to deliver that what you're committed.
I agree.
Okay? It's not about false commitments.
uh,
And I believe, success grows when you foster collaborations, right? Maintaining transparency. You should be very transparent. So it's also important when you can say no to certain things. When I say no, and not in a brisk manner, but essentially it takes time to develop things.
mm,
Even urgency itself requires time to develop, and you have to deliver value to the customer. And
yes, exactly.
and embracing what is also important is the embracing quick and iterative cycles, because obviously product you cannot be just have everything fine in the first shot. Uh, so the changes keep on, you need to evolve according to that. So, but this what also actually helps is mindset is that it not only ensures that you're timely delivering to your commitments, but also what begins as a project, right? It turns into a trusted and a long-term partnership.
Mm, true.
So all in all, if I said earlier also, I want to repeat that, it's just not about, being a vendor or a third party. It's about being a partner in progress, okay, and a trusted advisor. That's very important, right? And that's essentially which I mentioned in my previous point, which you just mentioned. That ensures there's a continuity in your business as well.
Yes.
So that stickiness is very important for the next cycle of engagements that you have.
Very well taken and totally resonate with you because uh, from a catalog to actual and actual to trustworthy to partner in progress, the very these words we all used to listen every day, right? But the way you have put it in the business context and especially handling the customer, which is have a dynamic requirements, but how to handle it, this is a very important message, and I'm pretty much sure the not the young aspirant, but the people who are actually in these roles, they will also learn from these from your experience and from your uh, the way you engage with your customers. So thanks Mahesh for bringing this important part.
Thank you.
We discuss on all our technology advances and the new things which are coming, and you describe it beautifully into the three domains. Yeah. But how the businesses should prepare for these advancement? Well, that's a practical challenge which most of the people are having.
Okay. That's a good question. Because I'm also thinking on that. So, see, the way I look at it is that, uh, every company has their own strategy, chart out their growth path as well as scale their products. So if I see the strategies which the company should adopt, right? So basically, believing. So if I see from a scaling perspective successfully, so it is less about doing more of the same thing. Okay. It's about more about doing things smarter and faster. So in my opinion, there are three core strategies which they should focus on, and there could be more. First is build scalability into their products. So, and that should be from day number one, because what it means is that you're actually designing modular architectures, leveraging the power of automation and adaptive cloud native platforms so that you have flexibility as well as, address the growth capacity, right? These are already baked into your design and architecture for day number one. It should not be enough as a as an afterthought later.
Mm.
Second is relentless use of data and customer insights. So because you see, real growth actually comes when you are closer to the customer and you're addressing is changing customer needs, correct? And you should adapt your products rapidly based on the real-time feedback, which I discussed earlier.
Mhm.
Third is empowering of your team and your partner ecosystems. And this is very, very important. So, you need to have strong partnership, you need to have cross, functional collaborations, which actually helps in encouraging experimentation. So what turns a good product into a scalable business?
Mm.
So it's also important to remember that, while you have built a good product and scale, but this actually cannot work without the enablement of your teams, your human resource, and the relevant partner ecosystem as well. Because while you have created a kind of, I would say, conceptual design, but you need to have your third party ready to deliver to you as well,
Hmm.
right? The relevant, components. So with all these three components aligned, which I feel is that, whether it's the scalable design, your data-driven, decisions, and, empowered people. So the growth doesn't happen gradually.
Hmm.
So actually, it becomes more exponential. It explores exponentially and allowing business to expand efficiently as well as sustainably. So these are the three mantras which I feel, actually drives sustainability within the business.
You touch upon each and every through your mantras, and these are the key factors which is missing, because it's a balancing all these three pillars, right?
Mm,
Sometimes you focus on one, but you leave another. But this has to be perfectly matched. And I love the concept of this partner ecosystem.
yes.
People forgot, because the partner is also contributing and investing their time, efforts. Although they look at it as a transaction, but they are also part of their success. And these partners can create a lot of value, because they can be your brand ambassador at some time of,
No,
as you.
absolutely. It's very important in this particular ecosystem. See, you cannot work in silos. See,
Hmm.
not every company manufactures each of the components that is required to make your product,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
So you have to focus on what you're good at.
Hmm.
You're good at designing, you give that particular design to a third party, which are more efficient perhaps than you could do it. So that is where the partner ecosystem comes in,
Hmm.
whether it's from their products or whether they're services. So you cannot treat them as something, different from what you're trying to do, because your success depends on them and their success depends on you. So it is a symbiotic relationship that you need to kind of maintain,
True. And
right?
also, they are also close to the customer. They are also doing, they are in the market. So they also give you a lot of ideas.
Absolutely. There's a lot of feedbacks that your partners also give you,
Yeah.
right? So the feedbacks are very important, whether it's from your partner, whether it's from your customer, whether it is what is doable, what is not doable, and what is the kind of timeline, because everything depends what commitment you have given to your customer, right? So it has
Mhm.
to be kind of backtracked in terms of what you can do internally. And that's
True.
where your partners also support you.
True. True. Agree. Absolutely agree with you. But there are some use cases which you still find that is missing in today's world.
Okay, that is a very good question, actually. So if I look at this particular perspective, this is an excellent question that you have asked. So if you see that, right, let's say 5G today,
Hmm.
there are many industry experts across the spectrum that are investing a lot of time, to crack at this one,
Hmm.
and maybe more. That's what they call as a golden use case that the operators can monetize upon. So if I look at from an India perspective, let me put a bit of an India perspective, right? So the potential impact of next generation connectivity is truly, I would say, transformative.
Hmm.
But since you asked me, right? So here are my 2 cents. Uh, I think the first opportunity that comes to my mind is basically the connected rural ecosystems. So India's strength is its rural economy. Okay, I'm not saying rural economy is just agriculture, by the way.
Hmm.
So why I'm saying this is because today, even as we speak, the villages still lack what you call as a digital depth.
Hmm. Yes.
So I'll give a bit of a diversion. I'm just diverting for a minute just to say why I'm saying this, right? So let me give a bit of a data point. So I was reading recently one of the articles which was saying, right, and this is one of the statistics which was, I think, middle of this year. Uh, Out of the 644,000 villages, plus or minus in India, which are there, still 15,000 odd villages still lack digital connectivity. And there's a variety of reasons for that because of environment, topology, and all that. And this is despite, I would say, 3 decades of rollouts and the best of the efforts, both from the operator side or from the government side and the stakeholders. Even from 4G, 4G has been already, I would say, a mature technology because 5G has also come in. We are approximately about 96.8% in terms of 4G connected villages,
Hmm.
right? Still, there is a percentage, it's not 100% as we speak,
Big
right?
gap.
There's a gap. And I'm not talking anything about coverage or quality aspects. Now, coming back to the point,
Mm, mm,
basically, well, let's say I was talking about villages, and villages is connected to agriculture or farming in some way. So if I say like we have 4G and now 5G, there's a lot of effort that has been involved in the field today. Now, whether it is sensors monitoring soil and crops, the quality of soil means the I would say humidity and in the soil, and I would say the uh, amount of fertilizers that is on the soil. And then we talk about drones. Drones are used for precision spraying of fertilizers and pesticides. Then AI-driven irrigation systems. So basically, you're able to monitor the humidity in the atmosphere, looking at the temperature, and when you need to kind of release the water into the fields. So essentially, optimizing the use of water, especially in where drought-prone areas are there.
mm.
Correct. Now, farmers are able to kind of monitor their crops and also perhaps predict the yield, future yield of that particular crop. So if you see all this, it's just not about connectivity, right? It's also about boosting productivity. It's also about sustainability as well as the livelihoods at scale.
It's the outcome, right?
It's the outcome, absolutely. Now, secondly, I see there is intelligent and seamless mobility. You know, so as we all know that make in India, India is a growing economy. So also has increased the urbanization, if you will. What
Mm,
impacts also is your supply chain and logistics. That's the challenge. So connected, transport for multimodal logistics is one of the keywords. You might have heard that as a part of PM Gati Shakti,
yeah.
National Master Plan, right? So this could be a big game changer. So think about trucks. Think
Mm,
about, connected ports, connected rail networks. We have this dedicated corridors coming up, right, for trains, connected warehouse,
mm,
and traffic management systems. So these are all communicating and coordinating in a near real-time fashion. So what happens now is that you have shippers and exporters and operators, basically they can actually optimize their routing and also reduce their wait times. And of course, there's asset utilization.
mm,
So which improves is your safety, your delivery timelines, and lowers your fuel consumption. Again, we talk about carbon, environment and all that. And also the idling cost, across the massive supply chain. So what also improves is the kind of logistics between, I would say, finished goods from the factory going towards the warehouse, or from the warehouses towards the retailers, or the goods from the raw materials, warehouses to your factory, and so on and so forth. This has kind of a profound impact. Third is basically what I call as the immersive access of to essential services. Now,
mm,
let's take the case, especially of healthcare and educations. This is something which you might have heard pretty often. Now, high-speed, low-latency networks can bring virtual classrooms and augment learning for the students. So, for example, by the use of digital twin, again, a concept of digital twin here,
mm.
students can have immersive experience for example, for exploring the human nervous system, right? How it works through the use of AR, VR. Now, this is a kind of experiential learning, if you will, right? So
Mm.
this can completely change how students in smaller towns essentially learn and improve their aspirations getting into science and engineering streams. The other example is also extending remote diagnostics and teleconsultations, for rural healthcare. That actually bridges the quality gap between the urban and the underserved rural India. And just to give some data points, for example, I heard that Apollo Hospitals has tied up with one of the major operators in India to demonstrate real-time data video that can help doctors guide the healthcare providers in the rural patients in rural areas basically. So if you see, for India, it's just not about faster networks, which all is there, of course. That's one of the objectives. But it's also about inclusive connectivity using technology. It also bridges the divide between the rural and urban areas. It empowers the rural economies much and enables also smarter and more resilient networks. And of course, we are talking about smart cities in the future, right? So this is where I feel the wireless innovation truly reshapes the lives. Now, on the overall technology front, now this is about the use cases specific to India. Now, the next leap of mobile and wireless connectivity, whether it is 6G in the future, and we are talking about 5G now, we'll be talking about 5G Advanced and 6G. And of course, we have from a Wi-Fi front, we have the Wi-Fi 7. Now, this is expected to unlock an array of transformative use cases, correct? Which is perhaps not possible by 5G today because of limitations of the technology, or you call it the limitation of today's infrastructure.
Yeah.
But these applications will rely on terahertz communication, which are ultra low, sub-millisecond, deeply integrated AI systems for sensing and automation. Now, this would enable a host of use cases like, holographic telepresence, mixed reality, Internet of Senses, global digital design with centimeter level precisions. Okay. Now, this actually helps where? Because it actually helps in terms of creating virtual replica of the real world environments to a centimeter level accuracy, especially in industries like urban planning, disaster response, or environmental engineering and monitoring, and many such applications, right? So I believe it's an era of true transformation and amalgamation of the real and the digital world, if you will.
Mm. And now we are hearing a lot about the satellite communication, right? Which is again a game changer where the operators are not able to reach. So we are talking about the people are claiming that 5G like speed can also be possible via satellite.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then I think if you look at a satellite, we still have, I would say, a bit of latency.
Mm.
I mean, when you actually see the end application, how it is going to impact the true seamlessness, I would say ubiquitous connectivity across the board, right? So when you talk about satellites, again, satellites have its own limitations in terms of bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
And the latency, which I already mentioned. So yeah, I mean, that's where the hybrid network actually helps you in terms of how you're able to kind of adapt in this environment.
Definitely. And I can also think about some of the business model which you talk about. Let's say, again, it's a wild thought. Like, let's say if the operator is able to improve the efficiency of that particular farmer, then there should be a reward, right? And that connectivity will come by default, so that it will move
I
it.
I think that's it's a very good idea, but if you see at the operators, right, when essentially, basically, even when at the end of the day, if you look at from an operator perspective, because that's these are already tested as even before 5G, for example, right? Now, if I see that, when 5G was rolled out, even before 5G was rolled out, a lot of investments happened in terms of doing pilots, trying out use cases. There were hackathons, understanding how the operators can monetize on these use cases. So the obvious reward is, as I said, I gave an example, this Apollo, which I said, working with an operator that actually has got into healthcare, right? So this is one of the use cases. So obviously, how much they will be able to monetize, only time will tell, and how it pans out. But yeah, I think there's a lot of reward in itself in terms of
Yeah,
connectivity, and it's about how you are able to leverage technology for the benefit of the larger, right, larger populace. And 46% of the India's population itself is based out of, at least I'm talking about statistics of 2024-25, 46%, maybe about thereabout, of India's population lives in the rural area.
so
Right. So obviously, there's a lot of latent or potential business and opportunities that you can get out of.
I agree. So first of all, reaching to that these population and then bringing the something adaptable, easy to digest, and something which can be quantified, that makes that will be as you rightly mentioned, the closer the operator now connect with the end user, more and more idea and more business cases they will be able to grasp it out. And maybe you don't require a hi-fi technology like 5G. Something can be done below that technology as well.
Of course, like I said, right? So India, we already have 4G.
Yeah.
So it's all about sending data at the backhaul. So it's not about faster speeds. It's about content, this connectivity which is an enabler for these use cases,
Hmm. Agree. Agree.
right? So yeah.
Interesting topic, and again, it's that's where the industry experts is sharing a lot of their expertise and the knowledge into that. But I'm pretty much sure there are out of these all the scattered thing, there will be a some golden opportunity which we will be listening very soon.
Okay. All
Right.
right.
You are like we have seen you at multiple platforms and multiple events as a speaker, and you are a popular face in that conferences. So we would like to understand what is your initiative which you are giving back to the society, like uplifting local communities, people, teams. So what you how you engage and how you contribute in their success.
Okay, let me try to put a bit of a perspective here, right? So what I personally learned is that impact is rarely one-sided, correct? Now, what do I mean by that? When the goal is to support others, right? So you end up learning just as much, if not more.
Mm.
So there are three main aspects in my personal view. One is the value of listening, right? Now, I think this is the most undermined aspect nowadays, right? Because of the era of limited patience.
Yeah.
So it's very important to hear and understand others' unique perspective. So it actually helps in kind of deep diving into the nuances and is critical in meaning a meaningful difference.
Mm.
Second is the value of patience and persistence. So if you see, Deepak, the real change does not actually happen overnight, right? Because nothing happens at a push of a button in a business. It's rather built through consistent effort and small wins in the initial phase. And but there is a long-term commitment that comes along with it.
Mm.
Third is basically on the leadership. Leadership is amplified when it is shared. Now, what do I mean by that? As they say, try and be what you expect from others to be to you.
Mm.
Okay. So by empowering others, whether it's your team member or younger professionals or you're mentoring somebody, what you create is what you call as a multiplier effect. So when people grow, communities grow. And when communities grow within your organization, the organization grows.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm. Important.
So, so this is how you actually improve and uplift not only your organization, not only your surrounding team members, but overall there is something which kind of positive gets out within the whole community, correct?
Mm.
And that's how basically I would say overall th- as an individual I have learned a lot.
Mm.
This is a progress, work in progress, right? At the end of the day.
Okay. I agree, agree. And especially you train someone to beat you, yeah, it's a golden line, I
Yeah.
must say. So you're making him to you're giving all these information, making him handhold, mentoring so that he can reach to a one level and in this way you are not impacting one life, you are actually impacting the whole community. And that's what.
Absolutely. See, as I said, I think in the beginning of this discussion where we said, no, it's just, if I want to give a very vague analogy,
Mm,
I mean, when you do a machine learning, right, you ensure that machine gives you the right output. So you're
correct.
expecting that. So you train and train and train until it comes to a level where the machine itself can do it on its own. But if you
Mm,
give it bad set of information, it also learn that also, right? Good or bad, it doesn't make kind of a difference. And the
mm,
outcome will be bad, right? So that is where mentoring and also, kind of, as I said, the leadership, you expect your senior, your boss or somebody, he has to do this for you. You should be, managing this kind of a stance. This is how you should work, blah, blah, blah. But then there's the same thing what whether it's your team member, whether it's your extended family, or whether it's your family members, they also expect the similar expectation from you. So this is how, you should think about, right? So putting yourself in their shoes. Put
mm.
yourself in that particular thought. What do you think your leader should be? The same expectation is natural for your, somebody who is reporting to you.
True.
or maybe a family member.
Yeah. Those who are looking at you, they have an expectation, and this is your
Absolutely,
responsibility
absolutely, yes.
to fulfill that expectation. In the interest of time, I would like to come to the last question, which is
Okay.
what advice would you like to give to young professionals and the aspiring technology leaders?
I would say, yeah, my advice would be, since you asked, would be like stay curious, keep learning. See, as I said earlier in this part of the discussion, technology keeps on moving fast and keeps on evolving. And the ability to adapt and experience is what sets the great leaders apart from whether it's young or old, doesn't matter. And one thing remember, it's never a time to say that I am too old to learn. As I say, na, budhapa aa gaya right? So there's no right age, in my opinion, to embrace change. Develop the technical depth and improve on the business perspective. Get those skills. See, today, if you see, right, there's a lot of avenues, as compared to perhaps the yesteryears, because technology has become that enabler that brings that information and makes it available at your fingertips. So understanding technology, how it solves real world problems, how it creates value, is as important as building a product or building a system. Another aspect which I would say is that build relationship and networks. This is very, very important. So collaborate with experts, provide mentoring, learn from others. Okay. So you cannot say that I am a leader, I know everything. That never happens. Leaders also learn from their subordinates. Leaders learn from their peers. Leaders also learn from their seniors. Leaders learn from their the knowledge in the market, right? So it's not only helps you kind of shaping your career, but also the impact that you have in the industry itself. The third area which I would say is embrace challenges. So, well, embrace challenge and then learn from the failure. So, one thing, Deepak, you also know, from the industry, the projects never go the way they are planned. Correct?
True. True.
So there are as many failures as many successes, and maybe even more, right? So with each setbacks or each successes, there's one thing what you call as lessons to be learned. So they become globally what they call as lessons learned, or I would say the global best practices. So what it does, it teaches you resilience. It teaches you creativity, how to address a challenge. It teaches how you need to navigate through and how to address setbacks and how to face the customer. And if there are any problems, how to solve that problem. So this actually becomes, you might think that these are all individual blocks, right? It's not, because these are core leadership skills. It's not written anywhere. It's something you learn over a period of time when you work from various companies through your career and so on and so forth. And finally, lead with empathy and purpose. See, technology is powerful, but it's also the human side, right? And how you work also affects your teams, your customers, and the communities as well, which we discussed earlier. And that drives the lasting impact. So if I want to summarize this, I would say stay curious, learn continuously, connect meaningfully, create that connects, network, embrace challenges, and lead with purpose. So this is combination what turns a true technical talent into what is a true leadership.
And again, I can now connect all the dots which you have mentioned, become a trusted advisor, close to the customer ecosystem. These are some great key takeaways which I have taken from this conversation. And every word which you mentioned is real practical. And that's the reason which makes, I think this is your great learning from last 3 decades, and that's what makes you a great leader.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is not something which I'm just saying because there's a presentation today. This is what I've kind of imbibed over a period of time, because not a lot of things are, if you kind of search for it, it's something you learn over a period of time. And these mantras, they don't change, whether it is today or maybe tomorrow. Because see, technology is going to change for sure. You'll always have failures and successes. That is going to be there. That is going to be your, I would say, the guru to teach you further, correct? And of course, empathize, because at the end of the day, it's not about technology, it's also about a human face as well, right?
Mm.
No
Mm.
matter AI, ML might take over a lot of jobs and so on and so forth, but how you kind of navigate through that is also important. How you're going to mentor somebody to navigate through that is also important. This is something I would say is not going to change even maybe in eons.
And these are the principles which you rightly mentioned, which retune to back to the direction, for the goal. Otherwise, the people will generally get distracted with the new technological change or new thing which is coming in the market. But yes, remain consistent, relationship, mentoring, these all will make a real human value, and this is what the people will know you and will trust you. The all lines goes to the making a trust development.
Absolutely, absolutely, Deepak. You got it right.
Great. So, thank you, Mahesh, for sharing all these insights and this impactful work which you are doing and empowering through innovation, transforming connectivity. Believe me, this is for me is a eye-opening conversation, and I learned a lot about you, during because we know from last so many years, but still I have now seen the another face of Mahesh, which actually, which makes you a great leader and a respected name in the industry.
Yeah.
Any last message which you want to share with our audience?
No, I think it has been a pleasure, yeah, discussing and evolving telecom landscape over the last 1+ hour. What I would say is that you know this is where I could actually share my thoughts, and sincerely hope it was engaging enough for your viewers. I'll say just keep experimenting, keep learning. Don't be afraid to evolve or fail. Right? Failure is a part of life. So that's exactly where the real growth happens. Again, thanks Deepak for having me on this video presentation, and again, thanks viewers for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And one last thing, any person who wants to get connect with you, what is the right way of connecting?
I think I'll share you my coordinates. They can directly connect with me.
Okay, perfect. So
Yeah.
I will upload it once we are uploading this session. So thank you once again. And until for the next time, this is Deepak Vyas signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.